Oh yeah, right. Harry, I'm disappointed in you because you're supposed to be our TikTok watch, and we figured out at least partly why the Cutwater numbers are so crazy. There's a Cutwater TikTok challenge that's gone completely viral, and they're selling out of it at a lot of stores. Have you heard
I
this?
have heard this. Yeah, actually,
Okay.
Melissa told me,
Well,
and
why didn't you pass that along?
I guess I should have. I honestly, I just forgot about it. But she told me like a week ago. She's like,
Yeah.
Cutwater's all over social media right now,
Yeah.
and she's like, everybody keeps asking her about it. She's like, oh, that's an AB product. It's been out for years. All these young people think that it just came out.
Yeah.
There's also a similar thing going on with Alani Nu right now. I don't know if you've seen that. Remember when young women were just going crazy over Stanley cups
Yeah.
and fighting
Big
each
cups,
other in
big ass
Walmarts
cups.
and
Yeah.
Targets? Yeah, well, they're doing the same now for a specific flavor of Alani Nu.
Oh, that's funny.
It's called Witch's Brew, I think. And
Oh, it's seasonal, right?
yeah, and there's been fist fights and Walmarts and Targets all over the nations. Just Karen's gone wild, and it's awesome.
Karen's gone wild. Well, with the Cutwater thing, I've heard that like they're having some supply issues, and let's just say that the viral challenge is not the most responsible of consumption.
No.
And there's been a letter sent about it. I mean, among the system. But anyway, interesting, and I hope they don't set like those crazy numbers they're doing right now. I can see AB setting that. Oh, this is your new baseline,
Right.
which not
Right.
exactly sustainable.
Yeah. Cutwater's doing well everywhere. Neutral?
Not strong enough. I think that's what people want. They want efficient alcohol.
Yeah.
Maybe one and done, two and done, and
Right.
that's it. They're
Right.
drinking so much during the day of non-alc beverages that they want something that's efficient and does the job quickly. So
Great point. I think high strength RTDs are coming in to their own finally. Well, I mean, big news this morning. Southern Glazer's Wine and Spirits buying AB's branch in the New York bureaus. And, it's not a complete surprise. We'd been hearing buzz. We're hearing more buzz. There might be other deals out there for Southern Glazers to enter the red system. In order to contextualize that, while New York is obviously a very important market, it's not a big market for AB. They sell like 6 million. It's like a small 6 million case operation. It loses money. It always has. Manhattan, especially, it's very, very difficult to deliver there. I mean, you've heard Manhattan Beer. They have like, 200 grand in parking tickets every year, something ridiculous. And it's very dense. And so I think that actually does make sense for Southern Glazers. I know they're probably going to sell on separate trucks, but they are combining a total beverage alcohol, at least on the selling side. And it makes sense in dense, especially highly dense on-premise accounts that are right next to each other to efficiently do that. So maybe that company will make money because it's so hard. And another market like that is like Las Vegas, New Orleans. It's not a complete surprise, but it is a huge development. I mean, AB is really crashing their network in a lot of different ways. They're doing it through these kind of forced sales on Exhibit 5 to like half a dozen wholesalers. They're doing it through an MET crewing of Colorado with Economos. They're also I've heard anywhere from 100 to 170 wholesalers are now out of compliance, according to AB, with their equity agreement. And so, yeah, AB is just going ham on their own wholesalers. And I spoke to a source at AB that would know, and they said this is not about consolidation. Particularly, it's not about reducing the number of wholesalers. It's more about compliance was getting so bad that they couldn't overlook it. I think that's the exact quote. We just couldn't overlook it anymore. The whole industry's down. AB's actually doing better than a lot of others. But when the whole industry's down and everybody's bleeding, and especially when it's when you're dealing with a multinational, global, largest brewer in the world, they have to go to their board and say, this is why we need more resources in the United States. This is why we're down. And it's, this happens every 10 years or really kind of 7 years. It flips from who's the villain supplier. Remember it was Molson Coors back when it was Miller Coors for a while, when they didn't want Reyes to expand anymore, and they were threatening terminations and doing this. And then it was Constellation, when Constellation started terminating distributors in California, and even before that, when they started asking for like a $2 per case, marketing fee, blaming wholesale. And now it's AB's turn. It rotates between those three every about 7 years, and it's AB's turn. And so, we're sitting here, and for each of those companies, they go through these cycles where new management comes in, they do everything they want to do. It's all about innovation. It's all about, let's bring new products. And then when that doesn't work out as great as they thought, it's like, okay, let's go back to core brands and let's really hammer our wholesalers. And that's where AB is in their cycle. So
yeah, I do wonder. I think one of the big questions is whether this action, if we think that they're going to go with Southern Glazers in other markets, and we have heard rumors, and I would not be surprised if another specific market came down the pike very soon. I think the point is it going to be sequestered or specific to WODs, or is it going to end up being, other AB distributorships that are somehow forced to sell to Southern? I don't know. They're in 47 states, right? The other point I will make is that it's hard to see how this doesn't have at least a little to do with forced consolidation, because as you've pointed out many times, Harry, AB is way more fragmented than MC. And of course, they don't want that. And I think if they're going to try their hand at that at any time, it's going to be now with the Trump administration, who more than other presidents controls the courts. And AB is pretty cozy with his administration. They're investing in manufacturing. They're close with Dana White. So if they're going to try some interesting moves that could be court tested, now would be the time that they would do that.
That's a good point. I know you have Trump derangement syndrome, Jen, but
it's called reality.
Okay,
just
well,
literally saying what's happening. Sure,
no, I think
you have Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, maybe I have it on the other side, but yeah, I think no, that's probably a good point. I also think taking away the New York branch allows them to enter branches and actually expand. Remember, they have to stay under 10% of their volume in branch
for next year, right?
For at least the next year. And because who's going to buy Bismarck, North Dakota? Like Jordan said, there's no buyers for that except AB. I don't even know if that's legal there. I'm just using that as an example. No shade on Bismarck. I've actually spent a few months there back in the 90s. It's actually delightful.
But yeah, the forced terminations implies that they have a backup plan, and in some of those areas we've been hearing about, it's either AB or somebody that has a presence there, possibly Southern, I guess.
Right.
Like in these far-flung markets. And then I also wonder how much AB just wants to turn the page. They have pretty much a whole new portfolio now with Mick Ultra on top, Cutwater, Neutral leading the way. And I wonder how many times they've been reminded by wholesalers about Bud Light, and maybe they just can't get past that. And
right.
When you look at who their preferred buyers are, it's private equity and Redwood Capital, although there's people with history of AB there, and then it's Southern, where they're not worried about the past or what has happened. It's give us the orders, let's start something new. And I just wonder how much that plays into what's going on right now, is them just wanting to reset and move forward.
I think that is a great point. I think that is a lot of what's going on. I think they've certainly look. If they wanted to get their wholesalers' attention, they have it now. They have it now, and if I guarantee you, any wholesalers got anywhere near code dated beer in their market, they're cleaning it up now. and
well, we're hearing
shipping it
about
to
skimmers.
Afghanistan or wherever
Yeah.
old beer goes these days. But I mean, I just feel like you're right that they do want to turn a page. I think the Southern deal is like fresh blood. It's like, anything that's new is cool, and I'm sure Southern's promised a lot. And also, Southern is probably the only one that can make money in New York, in a place like New York City. Simon makes money there because of, they have Constellation and Coors has high share and they have everything else that they have. So
what is Southern's primary attraction to AB? Are they doing it for the RTDs? Or are they just doing it for the scale? What is Southern's
they're doing it for the
interest?
scale. They know that the wine and spirits business is in the tank, especially wine. And this is a nice buffer. It's a nice hedge. It's also, they're not going to get the brand yanked. It's harder to remove beer brands than it is wine and spirits. And, they saw what happened to RNDC in California, and they're like, and they also, I'm sure that the Chaplins look at their partners, the Glazers family, and they're like, you're already in beer separately.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And in Texas, that's interesting dynamic.
Right.
With,
and Glazers is pretty big into beer, and they see that cash flow and they're like, hey, we want to get in on that action. I think. I don't know.
If you're an AB wholesaler with Southern in your market, are you more inclined to lean in or lean out?
If they're the only buyer.
Yeah, and then it depends on your size, I think, too. I think a lot of these AB, just not necessarily all of them, and it should be their choice. But as we saw with Ryan Lake on a few months ago, right? I think a lot of the smaller distributors who aren't, the business isn't like it was 10 years ago. They're getting ready to get out anyway, right? But they want
for sure
good terms.
And it's a little bit unfair because it's the smaller Midwestern AB distributors who were the last to take on any competing brands. In fact, a lot of them just didn't to this day because they had the higher share and they wanted to stay loyal to AB. But now they're disadvantaged since the Bud Light fiasco hit them hardest than anybody. And so they're kind of left holding this red and white bag that doesn't have a lot of value.
Yeah.
If you don't have, if you're an AB distributor, you don't have Constellation or many craft or imports, like what is it worth if it's not growing? And it's just worth whatever the present value of the future cash flows are. And that's not the kind of multiples that we've seen elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it's a tough position for these guys. And, we'll have an issue that goes out this week, just kind of expressing a little bit of the frustration that some of these wholesalers, we've been holding off on it because I didn't want to go day after day after day just slamming AB because this happens, like I said, it's not just AB. Every major supplier goes through this cycle, and it's just their turn, and they're hammering it hard. Maybe it is because of Dana White. I don't know. But
I'm not
Jen,
saying it's because of Dana White.
no, you said it.
all.
It's
no,
on.
that's not what I said.
You know that we're recording this podcast, Jen, so it is recorded what you said.
I thought I still had a chance to take.
No,
my
we'll clip it. We'll clip it and put it on TikTok and see how it does.
Perfect.
One quick question, Harry, and this might be a stupid question, but you did an amazing recap of the history of the equity agreement for AB wholesalers, and there's mechanisms in there to force them to sell if they have to. There's mechanisms to prefer who the buyer is. Is there anything that prevents a wholesaler from putting a for sale sign up?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that could protect a wholesaler is if their state law has provisions in their franchise law that says that they have more freedoms, like Mississippi had. Remember when all that went down in the match and snatch, and with Yingling, yeah, and so it kind of depends on which state you're in, and the equity agreement is. I think I heard or read somewhere that the equity agreement violates about laws in about 17 or 20 states. meaning that, it goes, it was very much against what the franchise law states you can and can't do as a supplier. Having the equity manager in there, I think, is the real. That's always been a real bone of contention. These are family businesses, and you have to hire this outside person that you may or may not trust. Usually, they do trust them. I would say, in 80% of the chances, they get along with the families, and it's fine. But in those 20% chances, they're like, and then Saputo owned Ohio. His son-in-law ran it. Redwood buys Ohio, and then the son-in-law is going and is heading up Southern Glaciers in New York.
Yeah.
And so John's kept his head down, just so you know. We are not, John hadn't told, the colonel hasn't, told us anything. That's all public information.
Right.
So
Right. But I think the last question is, what does Southern's agreement look like with AB? Because they're not going to accept the terms that the AB wholesalers have. So that would be interesting.
Well, I don't know. They're used to getting shitty terms from wine and spirits guys. Like they're used to being bent over a table, and so they might even like it. So
yeah, but these wine and spirits guys with their agreements, like we saw with Gallo last year, the way that some of things are much looser. AB wouldn't have it on their end, right? Like, so I think they'd codify something about like how often you service accounts and things like that.
Well, that was the main thing that my source at AB said. He goes, since COVID, our network has really let on-premise slide, and they haven't gotten back to servicing on-premise accounts. That was the real bone of contention that I'm hearing from my sources inside AB, that it's really about on-premise.
Yeah.
So anyway, speaking of wholesalers, why don't we let our guests in, and you can introduce them, Jennifer.
All right.
Thanks for coming on BeerNet Radio. This is the podcast where all your dreams come true. And so we'll
find out.
We'll see. It's a tall order, but we'll see if we can deliver on some of them at least.
Can you help with our sales trend improvement then?
Oh my gosh. I got to say, it's the worst it's ever been in my career. And I don't know if this is good news. This is actually terrible. I was going to say the good news is that everybody's sucking wind. So it's not like, except for a few like RTDs, but I mean, it's down for everybody. Nobody can point blame. Nobody can say, hey, it's everybody. It's the industry. So
no doubt. I usually just try and blame James. But
don't give Harry any ideas.
And then James blames the weather,
Yeah, of course.
We become weathermen real quickly.
Yeah.
It's amazing how often I look at that weather app.
Yeah. It's number one in your app store, huh, Jim?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, let me give you the official BeerNet Radio welcome. I'd like to welcome to BeerNet Radio Matthew Dykstra, President at LDF Sales and Distributing, and James Wilkins, Oklahoma EVP for LDF. Now, LDF is a multi-state mid-size wholesaler doing roughly 9 million cases a year across Oklahoma and Kansas with a diversified portfolio, including Molson Coors, Constellation, Pabst, Mike's, Heineken, and Big Craft, plus wine and spirits. They recently added Brown-Forman and Sazerac back in 2023 and have some of the biggest energy brands. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being here today.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having us. We're honored.
Yeah.
I'm a longtime listener, first-time caller.
Love that. Those are our favorite kinds.
Well, we're trying to get more this podcast was originally created during COVID for distributors, and it's hard to get distributors. They don't like to talk, but I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, we'll do our very best, but we're just stoked to be here, and thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to kick it off. Matt, I was perusing your LinkedIn and I didn't realize you had come to LDF after more than a decade with then Miller Coors in your backyard. And you also graduated from Mizzou with a degree in journalism, but then you got your MBA from Notre Dame. And I'm guessing that's because you didn't want to work for Harry, smart guy.
I just learned I'm not a very good journalist.
Well, neither are we.
Good for you. Yeah, no.
Way better at selling beer than writing articles. I did. But it starts before then. My first gig in college was as a beer delivery helper with a distributor in Kansas City. So I came up through that way. and then went after school, went and sold some Gallo wine, and then spent 12, 13 years with Molson Coors. And one of the bigger distributors that I worked with in my capacity there was LDF. And they brought me over in 2019. And like it or not, they're stuck with me.
Stuck with you at the top. I think, Jordan, you had a question, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you have any relation to Bobby, but once you popped on, I think I got my answer.
Uh-oh. He's the smarter, better looking Dykstra.
That's
No.
awesome. You guys have synergies.
Yeah, no, we actually, so he's VP of sales for Duval, for Boulevard, which is a big supplier of ours in both states. So yeah, we have a little brotherly rivalry sometimes, but when it comes to business, we're all synergistic.
Nice.
It's like the Safanti brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it just the two of y'all in the industry, or do you have more siblings?
We have a way smarter, cooler sister.
Okay.
That's a bit younger. She's not in the industry, but she's equally successful in her own right. She runs an advertising agency in KC and is a smart cookie. So it's just the three of us.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, maybe lay the groundwork for us a little bit. Like, you guys have a diverse portfolio and it kind of differs what you have where across your footprint. So can you kind of just explain that briefly to us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So LDF, we've been around for about 40 years. Our owner and founder, Larry Fleming, started it, small distributor in Oklahoma. And now we've become one of the larger distributors in Oklahoma and Kansas. And we've grown quite rapidly over the last 5 or 6 years. Our sales have really quite exploded, up about 50% during that time frame, which has allowed us to reinvest quite considerably into the business, which is good. Into employees, we're at an all-time high in terms of our number of employees, and we're about to break ground on a new warehouse facility down in Oklahoma. So it's been a fun journey, and a lot of it is in part due to our portfolio and being diverse. And we do have a bit different portfolios in each of our states. So in Oklahoma, we're the market share leader in beer, and we ventured into spirits quite considerably over the past few years with Sazerac and now Brown-Forman. And in Kansas, we have an equally great beer portfolio there, and have a statewide spirits and wine business in Kansas too that we've been cultivating over the last 20-ish years. So while there are differences, I would say we're bullish about our position in both states and think we can grow it. So
very cool. And I know that you said over the past 5 years, you guys have grown a ton. And I think part of that's on the back of your diversification. Was there a triggering event for the diversification? And what's sort of the right and wrong way to diversify, do you think?
yeah, the triggering was my owner told us to grow faster.
Yeah.
No. So no, it's been quite deliberate. A few years back, we kind of created this vision of becoming a total beverage distributor, which is not totally unique. I know there's others out there, certainly, but we built a corporate objective around it, our rally cry, and we've invested behind it, and we've really seen it come to fruition. And so, when I speak about investing behind it, it's like we've got dedicated spirits and wine sales force in both states to complement our beer and more traditional teams that, beer is the lion's share of what we sell. And that's critically important to us. So that's not going to change. And so some would argue that that's inefficient in states like ours with a lot of rural geography. But we found that it's been necessary to diversify the right way. And so that's kind of what got us to where we are now. I mean, ultimately, what I would say is our belief is that as consumer trends evolve, we've got to evolve our businesses in order to grow sustainably over the long term. And that's what we've been trying to do.
Right.
And do you deliver on wine and spirits on the same trucks as beer, especially in those rural territories?
Yeah. For the most part, we do. There are geographies, particularly in Kansas, where we don't have a big beer portfolio, but we do sell spirits across the state. So there are some exceptions to that. But generally, as a rule, beer, wine, spirits are all coming on the same delivery truck.
It seems like that's becoming more and more of the norm.
Yeah.
With
And
a
I
lot
mean,
of,
it makes sense for us from an efficiency standpoint. We also do have some like more rural geographies where we've got full book sales folks. But for the most part, I'd call it 90-95% of our spirits and wine business is sold by dedicated people that's like what they do. And
right.
they're
Split
extremely
the
passionate.
sales force, combined delivery, because delivery
Exactly.
doesn't matter to the,
That's
you
what
know.
precisely. So that's the approach we've taken, and it seems to have worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder, because you guys carry, you've gotten and given away some big energy brands, right? As is the case with many wholesalers, but you guys are still very much in that business and you have some of those very hot brands. I'm curious what is your philosophy on the energy segment? Because you know that the price to pay is kind of, you might end up having to give it away, and just your larger thoughts on your energy portfolio.
James, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I would say, obviously the energy category is very frustrating at times, challenging, because we do spend a lot of time and effort in building these brands over the years. And over the years, we've had some really big suppliers. We've had suppliers like Red Bull and Bang and C4 and Celsius. And we have built these brands over time. And our sales reps do get frustrated too whenever you build a brand and then it just leaves overnight to another supplier, and you see all that hard work just kind of go by the wayside. So it does get frustrating. However, there are a lot of benefits to having those brands within our portfolio. Matt mentioned being a total beverage distributor. That's obviously very important. And to play and to be a total beverage distributor, you got to play in that realm. And so we've got to continue to find those brands that work well for our portfolio, continue to build them and do the right thing. And hopefully some of these will stay with us versus leaving. But overall, it's rewarding at times as well, but it does get frustrating.
Yeah.
Are you seeing energy directly cutting into BevAlc at all? Because some of the recent earnings calls we've listened to, that almost sounds like the case, even though that seems completely counterintuitive.
I haven't personally seen evidence of that, but it sure seems clear to me that there are evolving consumer trends as it relates to alcohol. It sure seems like everything I read is that particularly younger folks, while they're still drinking alcohol, are choosing it less frequently. And I think they have transitioned in some cases to functional beverages. And so I do think there may be some overlap there, which just lends more credence into this idea of being a total beverage distributor.
And I think we need to also bring back energy drinks mixed with vodka. Remember Red Bull vodka was such a huge thing in the early 2000s, and it's kind of fallen off. But let's get Alani Nu and Svedka. I don't know.
Well, the THC bevs are doing it now, so
Is that legal, Harry?
I don't know.
no.
No, the answer is no.
But
I mean,
that's never stopped you before.
No. Exactly.
You've got suppliers getting into non-alc now with Molson Coors and Zoa and Mark Anthony with Moss Plus. Now, how would you assess their entries into non-alc so far?
Well, I would say, really, I think for all of them, it's a little bit of a challenge because to win in the non-alc, you've got to be in the chains, and to be in chains, you got to pay slotting fees. You got to really do a lot of discounting to stay competitive with the established brands. I think for the most part, Molson Coors has done a really nice job with Zoa across the board. They've got a lot of chain activity and support, so that's been a real big success. And we'll continue to focus on that, and hopefully they can maintain what they're doing. They still got to spend some money and resources behind those brands, but all in all, they seem to be doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. And do you see your suppliers kind of leading your way in non-alc, or do you think you might carve your own path as well into that space?
I would say, Jordan, we've carved our own path, but it's been a rocky path, Jordan. It's been fraught with losing suppliers over the years, and I think you just have to go into it knowing it's going to be a long, strange trip with these various suppliers. So we sell Alani in our Kansas market, which is doing extremely well, and that's our biggest part of our non-alc portfolio. But we're equally as excited to sell those offerings that our beer suppliers have brought in, as you mentioned, Zoa and Moss Plus. But so we're kind of doing a little bit of both, and trying to sell a bunch of non-alcs because the category's growing.
It's such a double-edged sword because I mean even Zoa has a provision in their contract where they could sell the whole thing to Coke or whoever. It's and even Form Energy with AB is because they got to give their partners a way to make $1 billion if they want. But I mean, everybody wants to be a billionaire and all these. What's wrong with just being a millionaire? Jesus,
Whatever happened to that?
What happened to that? I'm still gunning for that. I mean, but Alani Nu's done very well, and I think it's very interesting that for the time being, at least, Celsius has said we're going to keep Alani where it is in the beer network because they're doing a really good job, and I think they use that as leverage against Pepsi to say, hey, we still got this other way to get to market. So
I think you're right. I mean, I think, granted, I'm biased, but I think we collectively, as a beer network, those of which that have some of those bigger national non-alc players, do a really nice job. And I put our execution up against any of the major soda companies, 100%.
Yeah, and you got to buy coolers and all this business. It's a dirty little corner of the business, but it's so profitable we can't ignore it. So
that's how we look at it too.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking
it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. Meaning, it's better to grab all those gross profit dollars while you can than to not ever have had them in the first place. That's my stand.
That's quite profound, Harry.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to get that placed on my wall.
Right. How many GP dollars have you lost, Harry? No. So while we're talking about non-alc, I'm curious because you guys have taken on the THC beverages, and I'm curious what made it worth it to you all to do that.
Yeah. Well, I will admit, relatively speaking, we've been quite conservative in our approach. I wouldn't say we've quite dove deep into the pool. We're just kind of dipping our toe in. So
didn't inhale.
Yeah, right. So so we've chosen to only work with a few suppliers that we felt really comfortable with, and we've self-imposed restrictions on what types of products we carry, and are very deliberate about the rules we have around it. But bottom line is, the reason we got into it is because customers were telling us, like, there's a consumer for this. And you guys would be crazy not to meet those consumer needs. And so we did a bunch of research, decided that we felt comfortable with it, given certain guardrails, and we started selling it, at least in part of our area, about 6 months ago. And it's not a huge part of what we sell today, but it is growing, and we'll kind of see where it goes.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you where it's going to go. It's fascinating to me that it's grown into such a robust market as it is, but so much could change. But I agree. I mean, it's kind of like you just have to have a foot in it just in case. And
Right.
People are changing the way they drink.
No doubt.
So let's talk about good old-fashioned beer. We haven't done a lot of that yet. How did summer go, and who drove, and what challenges were there? I mean, certainly there were challenges.
Yeah, no doubt. So it was kind of a tale of two halves for us this summer. As Harry mentioned, we love our weather app, but in reality, here in the Midwest, at least in parts of the Midwest, we had an inordinate amount of rain
Mhm.
the first half of the summer, and we're lake people down here.
Mhm.
And there was it really impacted our business, particularly in the Oklahoma market that James leads for us. That first half, combined with sort of the more macro trends that were impacting beer and alc bev. I mean, we had a kind of a tough start, but really since 4th of July, things have picked up considerably.
Okay.
And so we're back to growth, and we're growing for the full summer. So that's really positive. And what I would say, the usual suspects are the ones kind of the tip of the spear in terms of growth. It's the spirit-based RTDs, as you mentioned. Diageo, as you've written about, has done quite well, and we've experienced that. Coors Banquet's on a tear. Constellation has some very positive brands. So it's a combination of a number of players, but we do feel good about the trajectory that we're on now.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Do you think how much bigger do you think Banquet can get, and do you see that brand working its way up the Molson Coors portfolio in priority?
You know, I think it will. I think undoubtedly it'll become a bigger and bigger priority for Molson Coors. I mean, you know, I'll give you an example. I was at a concert a couple weeks back in Tulsa. Fun little show we went to, and I was counting the number of cool young people that had Coors Banquet T-shirts on. Now, I'm not cool enough to wear it to that concert, but all of these cool young people were wearing it. And so I think the brand is having a moment,
Yeah.
and I think it has a bunch of upside. You know, how big it could get, I'm not smart enough to know, but I think we got to put it into accounts for consumers to try it and to buy it. And I think it's going to be a growth engine for a long time. I really believe that.
And it has been. It's had several years of moments.
Yeah,
We've been
good
fortunate
point.
enough to grow at double digits over the last several years.
Yeah, no doubt.
I noticed somebody sent me it was from the Midwest, a tri-brand ad, and instead of Bud Light, it was Busch Light, Miller Light, and Coors Light.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, Busch Light's replacing Bud Light on the old tri banner there, and you got to wonder if Coors Light could reach that Busch Light trajectory. I think it has better brand equity, but I think also it's just people are looking for value, right? I mean,
Yeah, no doubt.
I think didn't Gavin said they want Banquet to be as well distributed as Coors Light, basically, or they have a ton of upside. Speaking of Gavin, who should replace him?
You know what? I was going to make my announcement. Jen, I'm casting my vote for you.
Oh, shit. Honestly, I would not know where to start. Banquet. It's the Banquet Brewery. We're renaming it again. Yeah. No, I'm just curious. I mean, not to put you guys on the spot at all, but you have had some suppliers that are seeing regime change. I mean, we're seeing it from a lot of suppliers. So I guess just generally, what would you guys like in future leadership of your top suppliers?
Well, that's not a softball, Jen.
Well, we're halfway through the interview. Come on.
I'm not naive enough to think I can offer advice to two of the largest and most capable breweries, but that's never stopped me before. No, I don't know who should fulfill or fill the shoes of Gavin. I'm sure they're going to find someone really good. My humble suggestions would be for both organizations that I have a tremendous amount of respect for and trust in is number one, get creative about investing behind growth engines and ability to grow the top line. I think that's necessary, not only obviously for their companies, but for the industry as a whole to be healthy. And I know that comes with risk because, when you make an acquisition or you launch new innovation, I can't tell you how many new brands I've been a part of launching that I thought were going to be absolute home runs, but really I grounded into a double play, but every once in a while, you launch something or you recognize a consumer need that you're not meeting, and you bring something out or you acquire something, and it changes the trajectory of your business. And so I would put a premium on, delivery of top line growth, because I think that's important. And then the only other humble suggestion I'd have would be, I'm a believer personally in collaboration amongst distributors and suppliers. And ultimately, I think we share a lot of the same goals, a healthy industry, long-term profitable growth. And so both those organizations have that collaborative spirit, at least in my experience. And I think their leaders need to exude that as well, which I'm sure that they will.
Well
So
said.
I sort of sidestepped your question, but
no, I think that's fair. I mean, that makes sense.
Honestly, they'll either come from Gallo or Pepsi. That's where they all come from.
well,
Just like you,
Yeah, right.
I haven't told Pepsi yet, but who knows?
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
I have to ask, since we're getting into some more tougher questions, how is it working with Boulevard in Kansas, given the relation there?
Oh, it's actually really fun. So my brother and I are, in addition to being brothers, we're like best buddies.
Aww.
And in fact, this weekend we're going on a golf trip together down to Branson. He's a way better golfer than me, but we have fun anyway. So
I love Branson. I love Branson. It's like a little Midwest jewel right there.
Isn't it? They built this empire down there. Johnny Moore, the owner of Bass Pro, has built all these awesome golf courses. But Jordan, it's a lot of fun. And occasionally we'll have healthy debate over the Thanksgiving table about business trends or industry objectives, but generally it's really cool.
Looking forward, what can we expect for fall? What can you guys tell us about what you expect for fall? Any new fall plans?
James, you go right ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Matt mentioned earlier our trend improvement, and we expect that we'll continue to see overall trend improvement for the back half of the year, especially with our large suppliers. We've cut our trend declines in half. For the month of July, we continue to see that getting better. We're really bullish on obviously our wine and spirit portfolio, and know there's going to be a ton of upside the back half of the year, especially O&D with the strength of our RPDs. We're jacked about Sazerac and what they're doing with BuzzBalls. They've got a ton of great new innovation coming out. They've got this Grapes Gone Wild. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's launching in September. It's going to be a huge launch. They've got this lemon squeezy, pink lemonade lemon squeezy brand that they're launching. So we're really excited about what they're doing. And they've been able to put a lot of focus and resources behind BuzzBalls. So we're seeing a ton of growth with that, especially in chains where really it wasn't really visible. And so they've done a real nice job there. So we're real excited about that. And then obviously Brown-Forman, we just recently picked them up. We launched them in August, first week in August. And we had over the course of a week, we had 43 crew drive teams in the market. We have 30 counties. So we covered all 30 counties, hit every liquor store, hit a ton of on-premise accounts, picked up a bunch of new pods. So we're excited about what that's going to do for that back half of the year, really positioning us for O&D, really having a strong end of the year push with our wine and spirit portfolio. And then lastly, be honest with you, we certainly hope the economy starts to improve a little bit and the political environment kind of slows down. I think if that happens, I think that'll bring that Hispanic consumer and community back out, which is really important for our overall portfolio, especially with Heineken with Dos Equis and then with Constellation. So we're optimistic that things are going to continue to get better, just like they have in the last few months.
Yeah, that's better news than I've been hearing. So fantastic. You mentioned Sazerac. Do you guys have the 99 brand, I would assume?
We don't have it in the spirit base. We do carry it in the malt based.
Okay, because I've been seeing in the scans that's looks like the next big thing for them. It's been up and up and up. So I just wasn't sure if you guys had seen that or if it's a little different with the malt base.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to visit you all next month. I'm going to be there for Brew. And of course, your wonderful Nikki is showing us around, and I'm super excited. So, what's it like over there in September? Is the weather hopefully a little bit cooler than Texas? You guys aren't that far.
No, we're not too far. It'll be a little bit cooler. Nikki will be a great host for you. I
Cool.
promise.
Yeah. Oh,
She's
yeah.
awesome.
No doubt. Nikki will be the best ambassador. I think
Oh,
you're going
yeah.
to Wichita.
Yep.
He
Yep.
is,
Oh, Wichita.
I'll-
James was
He'll
hoping
come
to
to
come down to
Tulsa.
him.
I'll be in Kansas City on the same week. I'm speaking at the Missouri Kansas Beer Wholesalers.
Oh,
I think
well.
it's in Kansas City.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I'll see you there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jen and I always go to Kansas in the same month and we'll never see each other. I was actually I was in Oklahoma City last month speaking to the Oklahoma retailers. Great group of folks. And I found it funny. You know, we were staying downtown, and I was like, "Why is it called Bricktown? Do y'all make a lot of bricks around here?" And they were like, "No, we just like bricks." I was like, "Okay, all right, that's cool. You just like bricks, all
High
right."
school football and bricks. That's what
Yeah.
we like down here.
Yeah, all right.
And Jen, I think you're going to a high school football game. Nikki
You know
was-
what? I am going to miss the high school football game because I have to get
Jen.
back for beginning school stuff for the kids.
Oh.
I know. Everybody
Friday
else
Night
is
Lights.
going. I know. Nikki's made shirts. I'm still getting a shirt. So it was
Well,
just,
should come-
yeah.
Well, that'll be cool. And we welcome you.
Thank you.
To Kansas and here I guess I'll see you in a couple weeks in KC.
Yeah, I'll be on the Missouri side, of course, but
Well,
I'll
all
see-
right.
it's all right. We'll see you there. Cool. Well, thank you guys for being on BeerNet Radio. I do appreciate it. And just let me know when I see you in Kansas City. Let me know how many of your dreams have come true since the podcast.
I will surely let you know. And hey, and thanks for having us. We're excited to be a part of it.
Thank you.
You bet. All
Thanks.
right. Take care, guys.
You
All
guys
right.
take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.